men. One of them is known as the toughest sheriff in America. The other has a reputation as one of the toughest gangsters ever to come out of the New York mob. Joe Arpaio and former hitman Sammy the Bull Gravano sat down with 12 News journalist Troy Hayden for a ranging discussion here, talking about organized crime, law enforcement, honor, and also a shared Italian heritage.
The story airs in two parts today on 12 News at 5 and then at 6. This morning, Troy is joining us live to tell us more about this. Boy, Troy, talk about two different walks of life, these two coming together.
Interesting, right, Justin? Sorry, early morning. Different walks of life, but kind of the same guy in a lot of ways. Both first-generation Italian Americans, both born on the East Coast. And I think it is so interesting that one of them ended up going into a life of law enforcement after being in the military. The other one, Sammy the Bull, also went to the military in Vietnam, but when he got out, he fell in with all of his buddies who ended up being gangsters. And he ended up being the top hitman in the mob to John Gotti, who was the big boss, and took out Paul Castellano, who was the boss of bosses. So you didn't get much bigger in the New York mob than Sammy the Bull, and you really don't get much bigger in law enforcement than Sheriff Joe Arpaio. So here's a little clip of the two of them together.
How you doing, pal?
You go to jail for party drug?
That's what I did. I did almost 20 years for that.
What?
I did almost 20 years for that.
For party drug?
Yep.
Must have been how many people you killed you went to jail for, not the drugs.
No,
they
it's the
caught
drugs.
up with you.
No,
how
I
many
did.
do you kill?
No, I didn't kill. I was involved in 19 murders.
You in my jails?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
How was that, Sammy?
Were you in a tent?
nightmare. A nightmare.
Were you in the tent?
No.
You were in my downtown jail?
Yeah.
Did you like the food?
The food was horrible.
Good.
Horrible.
It only cost 50 cents to feed you. It cost more to feed the dogs.
I knew that there was guys, it was 110 or 115
120.
degrees outside.
Yeah.
In the prison, it was 120, 120 something. And you were given salt pills. We would take salt pills. I would sit in there and see a guy sitting there and just keel over from the heat, exhaustion.
So you get a little taste of what was going on there. And actually the jail played a big role in this. So the way this all came together was I was at a Donald Trump rally covering it for 12 News this summer, and I ran into Sammy the Bull Gravano, and I'd never met him before, and we talked for a little bit and exchanged information. And I said, hey, I'd like to do a longer form interview with you at some point. He said, okay. So we went to go sit down and do that interview, and he was complaining so much about being in Joe Arpaio's jails. And I've known Sheriff Arpaio, like we all have, forever. I've known him for like 30 years. And so I said, would you want to address this with him personally? He said, yeah, absolutely would. So I reached out to Sheriff Arpaio, and he's like, yeah, I'll talk to him. And getting those two in the room together was something, I got to tell you. And you saw a little bit of it, but the sheriff really went after Sammy. I mean, I wasn't even sitting at the table yet when he was going after him at the first part of that clip. And it was very uncomfortable at first. And then they started cracking jokes at each other. Then everything calmed down. And I think we got a really, really interesting conversation.
Well, I just want to follow up on that, Troy, because you think Sammy the Bull Gravano here might not have the best outlook on law enforcement, right? And this is Joe Arpaio's whole life. So how were you even able to get these two men to come to the table and sit down and agree to really talk things out?
Well, I think that's something that is an excellent point, Allison. I think we should point out Sammy the Bull here in 2024 is not Sammy the Bull of the 1980s and 90s. He's a born-again Christian. He's changed his life around. He's trying to basically do more good in the world. He says he doesn't want to run from his past. He accepts that that's who he was, and it brought him to where he is today. And the same thing about Joe Arpaio. You know, look, the end of his being a sheriff was very controversial. Of course, he upset a lot of people. But I think both of these guys, Joe Arpaio's 92, Sammy the Bull's 79, they've mellowed. They can look back on the things they did in their past and kind of maybe try to make today a little bit better place.
What was the feeling in that room? We see you sitting there between those two, Troy.
Yeah.
Was it
playing referee a little
bit?
bit?
Were you playing referee? Were you worried that you're going to have to get in the middle of them and break up some kind of a fight?
I was very impressed with Sammy the Bull because, like I said, Joe Arpaio went after him hard. And he was saying some things where I was very uncomfortable, and there's probably 10 people in that room between all the photographers and producers and things, and you could hear a pin drop because everybody's like, where are we going with this? And Sammy was very calm the whole time. I think he handled it very well. And then, like I said, as they started talking and everybody warmed up a little bit, it really got to be a very interesting and funny. I mean, there are some funny moments in this. So here's the way we're going to play it tonight, guys. At 5 o'clock, we are doing a Who's Sammy the Bull piece. So if you're not familiar with who he is, we look back at his mob career, and then he got in some trouble here. That's why he was in Joe Arpaio's jail, was selling ecstasy pills and his involvement in that ring. At 6 o'clock, we have the sit down. It's about a 5-minute piece, so it really kind of shows you, it gives you a flavor of the sit down. Then at 8 p.m. on 12 Plus, and if you don't have 12 Plus yet, you've got to get it. Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV. We have a 15-minute version of the sit down. It's like the best of the sit down, I think, and I wanted to keep it moving with 15 minutes. So 5 o'clock, Who's Sammy? 6 o'clock, the sit down TV version, and then 8 o'clock, and we didn't edit the 8 o'clock version, so viewer discretion advised. These guys got a little salty. But it was just such an interesting assignment, and I'm so happy that 12 News allowed me to do it, and I can bring it to all of you.
There we go.
I know.
Unedited. 12 Plus. There we go, Troy.
There's
Yeah.
the viewer discretion, right? How interesting. We're going to get to see some of those tense exchanges you talked about, also see if they found any common ground. This is going to be fascinating. Troy, thank you so much for being here with us this morning to bring us that sneak peek. You just heard Troy there mention all the ways that you can watch again. 5 o'clock, that setup story for who Sammy the Bull is, and then 6 o'clock, this is the main sit-down version. And then don't forget to have 12 Plus downloaded on your Apple TV, Fire TV, or Roku devices, because the full unedited version is going up at 8 o'clock tonight.